Why are you always buying cheap food? Dara snapped. Can't you buy something better for once? Ekwu's smile faded. I'm sorry, my daughter, she said softly. This is all I could afford. Dera was a beautiful girl who was so mean and unkind to people around her, even her mother, Ekwu. Ekwu had Dera out of wedlock, and Dera hated her for that. Ekwu, Dera would say, her voice full of disdain. Why did you even have me? You don't even have a husband. She would roll her eyes and walk away, leaving Ekwu standing there, tears welling up in her eyes. Ekwu worked really hard, doing all kinds of jobs to make sure Dara had a better life. She cleaned houses, washed clothes for people, and sold fruits at the market. She woke up early in the morning and worked late into the night, all for Dara. But Dara never appreciated it. One day, Ekwu came home with her hands full of groceries. She had bought rice, beans, and vegetables. She smiled as she thought of the delicious meal she would cook for Dara. But when she entered the house, Dara was sitting on the couch looking angry. Why are you always buying cheap food? Dara snapped. Can't you buy something better for once? Ekwu's smile faded. I'm sorry, my daughter, she said softly. This is all I could afford. Dara scoffed. You are so useless, she muttered under her breath. Ekwu's heart broke a little more every time Dara said such hurtful things. But she never stopped working hard for her daughter. She believed that one day Dara would understand and appreciate her efforts. But Dara never did. She wouldn't let her mother come to her school meetings, saying she looked ugly and dirty. Mama, you can't come to the school meeting, Dara said one day. Why not, my child? Ekwu asked, surprised. Because you look ugly and dirty, Dara replied bluntly. I don't want my friends to see you. Ekwu felt like her heart was being torn apart. She had worked so hard to raise Dara, and this was how she was repaid. But she didn't argue. She simply nodded and said, Okay, my daughter. This always broke Eku's heart. She would sit alone in her room, crying silently. She didn't want Dara to see her tears. She didn't want her daughter to feel guilty. But Dara didn't feel guilty. She didn't want to walk on the road with her mother. She didn't want anyone to see them together. She even lied to her friends, saying that Ekwu wasn't her mother, but their house help. Who is that woman? One of Dara's friends asked one day, pointing at Ekwu who was waiting for Dara outside the school gate. Oh, that's just our house help, Dara said casually. She does the cleaning and cooking at home. Ekwu had this and felt like her heart was being crushed. She wanted to scream and tell everyone that she was Dara's mother, that she loved her daughter more than anything in the world, but she didn't. She simply walked away, tears streaming down her face. When they got home, Ekwu tried to talk to Dara. My daughter, she began, her voice trembling. Why do you say such things about me? I am your mother. I love you so much. But instead of being remorseful, Dara insulted her. You are not my mother, she snapped. You are just a poor woman who had a child out of wedlock. You are nothing to me. Ekwu couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She cried and cried, but Dara didn't care. She just walked away, leaving Ekwu alone with her pain. Ekwu would always cry, but Dara never seemed to care. Instead of feeling remorseful, she would insult her mother even more. One evening, after a particular hard day at work, Ekwu came home exhausted. She had been washing clothes all day and her hands were sore. She wanted nothing more than to rest for a while. But as soon as she entered the house, Dara started yelling at her. Why are you so late? Dara demanded. I needed you to make dinner hours ago. I am sorry, my daughter, Ekwu said wearily. I had a lot of work to do today. You are so useless. Dara spat. I don't know why I even bother with you. Ekwu couldn't take it anymore. She broke down in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. Why do you hate me so much? She cried. What have I done to deserve this? But Dara just rolled her eyes and walked away, leaving Ekwu to cry alone. She didn't care about her mother's feelings. She didn't care about all the sacrifices Ekwu had made for her. All she cared about was herself. Ekwu sat down on the floor, her shoulders shaking with sobs. She felt so alone, so unloved. She had given everything for Dara, and yet her daughter treated her like that. She didn't know what to do anymore. As the days passed, things didn't get any better. Dara continued to be mean and unkind to her mother. She continued to lie to her friends, saying that Ekwu was just their house help. And Ekwu continued to cry, feeling more and more hopeless. One day, Ekwu decided to confront Dara. She couldn't take the pain any longer. She needed to know why her daughter hated her so much. Dara, she said one evening, her voice trembling, we need to talk. What is it now? Dara snapped, not looking up from her phone. Why do you treat me this way? Ekwu asked, tears streaming down her face. Why do you hate me so much? Dara sighed and rolled her eyes. I don't hate you, she said. I just don't want people to know that you are my mother. You are so poor and dirty. It's embarrassing. Ekwu felt like she had been punched in the stomach. But I love you, she said softly. I have worked so hard for you. I have given you everything. Why can't you see that? Dara just shrugged. I don't care, she said. Just stay out of my life and stop embarrassing me. Ekwu couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She cried, her heart breaking into a million pieces. She didn't know what to do. She loved Dara so much, but her daughter didn't seem to care. She felt so alone and so hopeless. As time went by, Dara grew into a beautiful lady. Her striking features and elegant demeanor caught the eyes of many, but her heart remained cold, especially towards her mother Ekwu. Dara graduated from high school with honors, yet her attitude towards her mother did not improve. She got admission into the university. She hardly returned home after school. Whenever she called, it was only to ask for money to pay her fees and bills. Ekwu, Dara would say on the phone, her tone demanding, I need money for my school fees, and I have other expenses too. Ekwu, despite her exhaustion from working several jobs, would respond with love and patience. I will send you the money, my daughter. Just make sure you study hard and stay focused. Ekwu worked tirelessly, taking up multiple jobs just to ensure that Dara never lacked anything. She cleaned houses, sold fruit at the market, and even took up night shifts at a local factory. She sacrificed her health and well-being for Dara's comfort. But Dara was ungrateful. She never once thanked her mother for her hard work and sacrifices. After graduating from university, Dara landed a job in the city. She decided to bring her mother over, not out of love or gratitude, but because she wanted someone to do all the chores and run errands for her. In Dara's mind, there was no need to hire a maid when her mother was still alive to keep suffering for her. One sunny morning, Dara called Ekwu and told her to pack her things and come to the city. Mama, come to the city. I have a place for you to stay, she said. Ekwu's heart swelled with hope. She thought perhaps Dara had finally changed and wanted to take care of her. She packed her belongings, including her best wrapper and a few cherished items, and set off for the city. When Ekwu arrived, she was greeted not with warmth, but with a list of rules. Dara stood tall and stern, her eyes cold and unfeeling. Mama, she began, there are rules you must follow while you are here. Do not trespass into my room. Do not touch my things without permission. You are here to do the chores and run errands for me. Understood? Eku's heart sank. She had hoped for a loving reunion, but instead, she felt like a servant. She nodded slowly, tears brimming in her eyes. Yes, my daughter, she whispered, her voice breaking. Dera continued, her tone harsh and unforgiving. And remember, if you break any of these rules, you have to leave. I won't tolerate any disobedience. Echo felt a deep sadness wash over her. She had dreamed of a better relationship with Dara, but it seemed her daughter was becoming worse. She decided to abide by the rules to avoid any issues. She silently promised herself that she would do whatever it took to keep the peace, even if it meant enduring more pain and heartache. Eku settled into her new life, taking care of all the house chores. She cleaned, cooked, and did the laundry. She woke up early every morning to prepare Dara's breakfast and stayed up late to make sure everything was in order. Despite her hard work, Dara never showed any appreciation. One evening, as Eku was scrubbing the kitchen floor, Dara walked in, her expression filled with disdain. Mama, she said, why is the floor still dirty? Can't you do anything right? Eku looked up, her hands red and raw from scrubbing. I'm sorry, my daughter. I will clean it again. Dara rolled her eyes. You are so useless, she muttered under her breath as she walked away. Eku's heart ached, but she kept her feelings to herself. She had hoped that by coming to the city, she would finally have a chance to bond with Dara. Instead, she found herself more alone and unloved than ever. Every day was a struggle, but she endured it all for the sake of her daughter. As the days turned into weeks, Eku's hope for a better relationship with Dara faded. She realized that her daughter had not changed and that she might never change. But despite the pain and heartache, Eku continued to love Dara unconditionally. She silently prayed that one day, Dara would understand and appreciate all that she had done for her. Until then, Eku decided to abide by Dara's rules, hoping that her obedience might eventually soften her daughter's heart. She lived each day with a heavy heart, clinging to the small glimmer of hope that things might change for the better. Dara continued working hard at her job, impressing her colleagues and her boss with her dedication. However, at home, her behavior remained cold and unkind towards her mother, Ekwu. Whenever Dara brought a friend home, she would lie to them, saying that Ekwu was her maid. She would even make Ekwu serve them, adding to her mother's workload. Welcome, Nkechi, Dara said one evening, inviting her friend into the living room. This is my maid, Ekwu. She will bring us some refreshment. Ekwu, with a heavy heart, brought out the drinks and snacks, serving them with a forced smile. She did all the cooking, cleaning, washing, and serving in the house. Every chore fell on her shoulders, and Dara never once helped or showed any appreciation. One day, Ekwu felt unwell. She had been cleaning all morning and her body ached terribly. She approached Dara, hoping for a bit of sympathy. My daughter, I am feeling very sick, Ekwu said weakly. Can I rest for a while? But Dara just looked at her with annoyance. You are always complaining, she snapped. I don't have time for your excuses. Just do your job. Eku's heart sank. Despite her illness, she continued her chores, pushing through the pain. She knew Dara didn't care about her well-being, but she still hoped for a glimmer of kindness. As time went on, Dara's life took an unexpected turn. She and her boss Michael fell in love. Michael was a kind and successful man who admired Dara's dedication to her work. He believed they would make a good team, both at work and in life. Dara, you are an amazing worker, Michael said one day. I admire your dedication and hard work. I think we make a great team. Dara blushed, feeling proud of herself. Thank you, Michael. I feel the same way. Their love blossomed, and they spent more time together, both at work and outside. Michael appreciated Dara's company and saw a bright future with her. One day, Michael asked Dara if he could visit her home. I would love to see where you live, Dara, he said. Can I come over tomorrow? Dara agreed, but immediately began to worry. She didn't want Michael to know that Ekwu was her mother. She devised a plan to maintain her lie. The next day, she bought a chef's attire and handed it to Ekwu. Put this on, Dara ordered. You are going to act as my maid when Michael comes. Don't make any mistakes. Ekwu looked at the attire, confused and hurt. Why are you doing this, my daughter? She asked softly. Just do as I say, and don't mess things up for me. Dara snapped. I won't tolerate any mistakes. When Michael arrived, Dara introduced Ekwu as her maid. This is Ekwu, my maid, she said. She will take care of everything for us. Ekwu's heart ached as she played along, serving Michael and Dara with trembling hands. Dara kept ordering her around like a child, making her feel small and insignificant. Fetch us some tea, Ekwu, Dara commanded. Yes, ma'am, Ekwu replied, her voice shaking. As the evening went on, Michael began to feel uncomfortable with Dara's attitude towards the old lady. He watched as Dara backed others and treated Ekwu with no respect. After they left the living room and stepped outside the compound, Michael decided to speak up. Thank you for having me over, Dara, he began. But I have to say, I didn't like the way you were ordering that woman around. She's old enough to be your mother. Dara laughed dismissively. God forbid, she exclaimed. That dirty and ugly lady can never be my mother. Michael was taken aback by Dara's harsh words. I see, he said slowly. Well, thank you for the evening, Dara. I will see you at work tomorrow. After Michael left, Dara stormed back inside the house, her face twisted with anger. She found Ekwu in the kitchen cleaning up. Do you know what you have done? Dara yelled. You better pray that Michael doesn't stop seeing me because of you. If he does, you regret ever having me as a child. Ekwu looked up, her eyes filled with tears. I am sorry, my daughter, she whispered. I did my best. Your best is never good enough. Dara snapped. Just stay out of my way. Ekwu's heart shattered into pieces. She had endured so much for her daughter, but Dara's cruelty seemed to have no bounds. She wiped away her tears and continued cleaning, hoping that one day Dara would find it in her heart to change. The next day at work, Michael and Dara were having lunch together in the company cafeteria. Michael wanted to know more about Dara's background, asked her a question that took her by surprise. So, Dara, tell me about your family. Michael said gently. I realized I don't know much about them. Dara hesitated for a moment, then composed herself. Both my parents have died, she said, her voice steady. Michael felt a pang of sympathy for her. Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that, he said, reaching out to hold her hand. It must have been tough growing up without them. Dara nodded, feigning sadness. It was, but I managed, she replied. Michael moved closer and cuddled her, trying to comfort her. She leaned into his embrace, feeling a bit guilty but determined to keep up the charade. As their relationship grew stronger, Michael decided it was time to take the next step. They began their wedding preparations, and Dara was thrilled to plan the event. She picked out a beautiful dress, arranged for a lavish venue, and invited all their friends and colleagues. However, she never told Ekwu about the wedding. On the day of the wedding, Ekwu sat alone in the small apartment, unaware of the celebrations taking place. She spent her day cleaning and cooking, wondering why Dara hadn't come home the previous night. Meanwhile, Dara and Michael exchanged vows in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by friends and family. They danced, laughed, and celebrated their love. After the wedding, they went on a romantic honeymoon, exploring new places and enjoying each other's company. When they returned from their honeymoon, Dara moved into Michael's spacious house. The house was grand and elegant, a far cry from the small apartment she had shared with Ekwu. Despite the luxury, Dera felt the need to bring Ekwu along, not out of love, but to continue her exploitation. One evening, after they had settled into the new house, Dera called Ekwu. "Pack your things and come to Michael's house," she ordered. "I will send someone to pick you up." Ekwu was confused but obeyed. She packed her few belongings and waited. When she arrived at the grand house, Dara greeted her with a stern look. "Listen carefully," Dara said, her voice cold. "You are here to do the chores and take care of the house. Do not mess things up for me. Michael is busy with his work and travels a lot, so he won't be around much. Just do as I say." Ekwu nodded, her heart heavy. "Yes, my daughter," she whispered. Michael was indeed very busy. He traveled frequently for work and had little time to spend at home. He noticed that Dara was often strict with Ekwu, but he didn't think much of it, believing Dara's story that Ekwu was her maid. Life continued, and Dara's cruel treatment of Ekwu did not change. One day, Dara discovered she was pregnant. Michael was overjoyed and supported her through the pregnancy. However, Dara continued to be harsh towards Ekwu, making her do all the housework and even more as her pregnancy progressed. When the baby was born, a beautiful baby girl named Ada, Michael suggested they hire a nanny to help with the baby. "Dara, don't you think we should get a nanny?" Michael asked one evening as they sat in the living room. "It will be easier for you, especially with your job and everything." But Dara refused. "No, Michael," she said firmly. "Ekwu can handle it. She's already here, and it's better than hiring someone new." Michael looked puzzled but accepted her decision. "All right, if you think that's best," he said. Ekwu, on the other hand, was heartbroken. She loved her granddaughter, but the constant work and sleepless nights were taking a toll on her. Dara made her stay awake all night, taking care of the baby. She barely had time to rest, and her health began to deteriorate. Every night, as she rocked baby Ada to sleep, Ekwu cried silently. She prayed that Dara would have a change of heart and treat her with kindness. She hoped that the love for her child would soften Dara's heart. "Please, God," Ekwu whispered one night, her voice choked with tears, "help my daughter to see the error of her ways. Let her heart be filled with love and kindness." Despite her prayers, Dara's behavior did not change. She continued to treat Ekwu harshly, backing orders and showing no gratitude for all the sacrifices her mother made. One evening, as Michael prepared for another business trip, he noticed Ekwu looking particularly worn out. "Ekwu, are you okay?" she asked with a genuine concern. "You look very tired." Ekwu forced a smile. "I am fine, sir," she replied softly, "just a bit tired from the day's work." Michael frowned. "Maybe we should consider hiring a nanny," he suggested again. "It's too much work for you alone." Before Ekwu could respond, Dara interrupted. "I told you, Michael, you don't need a nanny. Ekwu can handle it," she said firmly. Michael sighed but didn't press the issue. He kissed Dara and baby Ada goodbye and left for his trip. After he left, Dara turned to Ekwu with a score. You better not ruin things for me, she warned. Make sure everything is perfect when Michael returns. If he had issues with me because of you, you regret ever having me as a child. Ekwu felt her heart break once again. She continued her duties, caring for baby Ada and managing the household chores. She barely slept, constantly on her feet, trying to keep everything in order. Ekwu's nights were filled with tears and prayers. She prayed for strength and endured the hardship for a miracle to change Dera's heart. She hoped that one day her daughter would realize the pain she was causing and seek forgiveness. As time went on, baby Ada grew, filling the house with her sweet giggles and innocent curiosity. One quiet afternoon, Ekwu put Ada down for a nap and went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. She hummed softly as she cooked, thinking about how quickly her granddaughter was growing. After a while, Ekwu finished her cooking and returned to the living room, expecting to find Ada still asleep. But when she looked at the crib, her heart stopped. The baby was gone. Ekwu's eyes widened in fear. She searched the entire house, calling out for Ada, but there was no sign of her. Ada, Ada, where are you? She cried, her voice trembling with panic. Dera was at work, and Michael had just returned from a business trip. Ekwu ran outside, her heart pounding. She asked the neighbors in the estate if they had seen the baby, but no one had. Please, have you seen Ada? Ekwu asked, her voice shaky. No, we haven't seen her. The neighbors replied, shaking their heads sympathetically. Ekwu's heart sank. She grabbed her phone with trembling hands and called Dara. Dara, Ada is missing. I can't find her anywhere, she cried. Dara's voice was filled with anger and fear. What do you mean she is missing? She yelled. I'm coming home right now. Within minutes, Dara rushed back home, her face twisted with rage. How could you lose my baby? She screamed at Ekwu. What were you doing? Ekwu was in tears, her heart breaking. I was cooking in the kitchen. I'm so sorry, Dara. I didn't mean to lose her. Dara didn't listen. She immediately called Michael, who arrived home in less than 2 hours. Together, they searched the house, the garden, and the surrounding area, but there was no sign of baby Ada. Michael's face was pale with worry. We have to find her, he said, his voice shaking. We can't lose our baby. Ekwu was frantic, tears streaming down her face. She prayed silently, begging for Ada to be safe. Michael went back into the house to get his phone and continued the search. As he entered the living room, something caught his eyes. He bent down and looked under the chair. There, smiling and awake, was baby Ada. Ada! Oh, thank God! Michael exclaimed, his heart flooding with relief. He gently picked her up and hugged her tightly. His mind came back to normal, no longer clouded with fear. He walked towards the door, intending to show Dara and Ekwu that Ada was safe. But as he approached, he overheard Dara yelling at Ekwu. This is all your fault. Dara screamed. You cannot do anything right. Very stupid woman. Ekwu, with tears in her eyes, pleaded. I am so sorry, my daughter. Please forgive me. Don't ever call me your daughter. You wicked woman. You think you can be my mother? I hate you so much. I don't know why you are my mother. Why did you give birth to me? I hate you. Michael's heart ached as he listened. He opened the door and stepped out, holding baby Ada. Dara rushed over, her face a mix of relief and anger. Where did you find her? She asked, trying to take Ada from Michael. Under the chair, Michael replied, his voice cold. He turned to face Dara, his expression stern. Dara, is Ekwu your mother? He asked, his voice steady but intense. Dara was stunned into silence. She looked at Michael, then at Ekwu, her mind racing. She couldn't speak. Fear paralyzing her. Michael turned to Ekwu. Is this true? Are you Dara's mother? He asked gently. Ekwu nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I am her mother. I didn't want to cause any troubles. Michael's face contorted with anger and disbelief. How could a daughter treat her own mother with so much hatred? He shouted, Dara, you told me both of your parents were dead. Dara fell to her knees, sobbing, Michael, please forgive me. I didn't want you to know. I'm so sorry. Michael shook his head, his heart heavy with disappointment. You are a liar and an evil person, he said, his voice filled with sorrow. Go inside, pack your things, and leave my house. We can't continue this marriage built on lies. He turned away, holding baby Ada close. Dara's cries echoed through the house as she begged for forgiveness. But Michael never looked back. He walked away, his heart breaking for what could have been, but resolute in his decision. Dara's sob filled the air as she realized the full weight of her actions. She had lost everything, her husband, her home, and the respect of the only man who had ever truly loved her. She glanced at Ekwu, her mother, who stood silently, tears streaming down her face. Ekwu approached Dara and knelt beside her. My daughter, she said softly, I have always loved you. Despite everything, I hope one day you can change and find peace. Dara looked up at her mother, her vision blurred by tears. Ekwu hugged Dara tightly, her own heart aching for her daughter's pain. It's not too late to change, my child, but first, you need to make things right. With a heavy heart, Dara stood up and walked inside to pack her things. Each step felt like a journey through her past mistakes. She knew that she had a long road ahead of her, one that would require honesty, humility, and a sincere effort to become a better person. Michael watched from a distance, his heart heavy. He hoped that this painful experience would lead to positive change in Dara's life. He knew that Ada needed a mother who was kind and loving, not one who built her life on lies and deceit. As Dara left the house, her heart filled with regret, she silently vowed to change. She knew it would be a difficult journey, but for the sake of her daughter and herself, she was determined to make things right. Ekwu stood in the doorway holding her worn out bag. She had seen too much pain, endured too much heartache. Now that Dara was gone, she felt it was time to leave too. She turned to go, but Michael quickly stepped in front of her, blocking her path. Ekwu, please don't go, Michael pleaded, his voice filled with genuine concern. Baby Ada needs you. I need you here. Ekwu looked at him, her eyes filled with sadness and confusion. But my daughter has caused you so much trouble. I don't want to be a burden, she said softly. Michael shook his head. You are not a burden, you are a family, and I am deeply sorry for all that Dara has done to you. Please, stay. Tears welled up in Ekwu's eyes as she considered his words. She felt a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. All right, I will stay, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Michael sighed in relief. Thank you. I promise things will be different from now on. True to his words, Michael made several changes in the household. He hired a nanny to help with baby Ada, a chef to prepare meals, and a cleaner to take care of the house. He also took Ekwu to hospital for regular checkups, ensuring she received the medical care she needed. He bought her good clothes, making sure she felt comfortable and respected. Ekwu was happy in her new role. She took excellent care of baby Ada, doting on her and showering her with love. She found joy in watching Ada grow, and the baby's laughter filled the house with warmth and light. Despite her happiness, Ekwu couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness whenever she thought of Dara. She felt it was time to let go and live her own life, but the memories of her daughter's harsh treatment lingered. Meanwhile, Dara kept coming back to the house, hoping to be allowed in. Each time, the gatekeeper, acting on Michael's orders, refused to let her in. Please, I need to see my mother, Dara would plead, but the gatekeeper remained firm. Sorry, ma'am, Mr. Michael's orders. You are not allowed in, he would say. One day, Dara decided she wouldn't leave until she saw Michael. She sat outside the gate, waiting for hours. When Michael finally returned from work, she rushed to him, falling to her knees. Michael, please, she begged, tears streaming down her face. Give me a chance to make amends. I want to change. Michael looked at her, his face a mixture of sadness and disappointment. Dara, if you truly want to make amends, you need to start with your mother. She's the one you hurt the most. Dara nodded, her heart heavy. I will, I promise. Despite her determination, Ekwu initially refused to see her. I can't face her, she said to Michael. She hurts me so deeply. But one day, after much persuasion, Ekwu agreed to see Dara. They met in the living room, the tension in the air palpable. Dara fell to her knees before her mother, tears streaming down her face. Mama, I am so sorry, Dara cried. I know I hurt you deeply. Please, give me a chance to make things right. Ekwu looked at her daughter, her eyes filled with a lifetime of pain and sacrifice. Do you have any idea how much I sacrificed for you? She asked, her voice trembling. I suffered so much to give you a better life, and all you did was hurt me. You turned me into your maid. Dara sobbed, her heart breaking at her mother's words. I know, Mama. I was wrong. I was selfish and cruel. Please forgive me. Ekwu shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I don't think I can ever forgive you, she said, her voice filled with sorrow. Dara continued to beg, her cries echoing through the house. Please, Mama, I'll do anything to make it right. I need your forgiveness. But Ekwu, her heart hardened by years of pain, couldn't bring herself to forgive her daughter. Leave, she said quietly. I can't do this. As Dara's cries grew louder, Ekwu called the gatekeeper. Please, escort her out, she said, her voice breaking. The gatekeeper gently took Dara's arm, leading her towards the gate. Dara looked back at her mother, her heart shattered. Mama, please, she begged one last time. But Ekwu couldn't bring herself to respond. She turned away, tears streaming down her face, and walked back inside the house, leaving Dara behind. The gatekeeper escorted Dara out, and she stood outside the gate, her heart heavy with regret. She had lost everything, her mother's love, her home, and the respect of the only family she had left. Inside the house, Ekwu collapsed onto a chair, her body shaking with sobs. She wanted to forgive her daughter, but the pain was too deep, the wounds too fresh. She prayed for strength and wisdom, hoping that one day she could find it in her heart to forgive. Michael found Ekwu in the living room, her face buried in her hands. He sat beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Ekwu, you did what you had to do, he said softly. It's not easy to forgive, but maybe one day you'll find the strength. Ekwu nodded, wiping away her tears. I hope so, she whispered. I really hope so. As the days turned into weeks, Ekwu focused on caring for baby Ada and finding peace within herself. She knew that forgiveness would take time, but she also knew that it was a journey she needed to take. Dara, on the other hand, was left to reflect on her actions and the consequences of her behavior. She realized that true change would require more than just words. It would require a complete transformation of her heart and soul. Both mother and daughter were on separate paths, each seeking healing and redemption in their own way. And while the road ahead was uncertain, they both held on to hope that one day they could find their way back to each other. Dara decided to give her mother and Michael some time. She knew that healing wounds, especially the ones she had inflicted, would take time and effort. She also lost her job at Michael's company, a consequences of her actions and the lies she had built her life around. Desperate and determined to change, she decided to get a manual job, just like her mother had done in the past. Dera found work as a cleaner in a small restaurant. She scrubbed floors, washed dishes, and cleaned tables. The work was hard and grueling, but she embraced it, believing that one day her hard work and sincerity would earn her forgiveness. Each day, as she worked, she thought about her mother and baby Ada. She missed them terribly and regretted every harsh word and cruel action. She prayed that one day they would forgive her and accept her back into their lives. Meanwhile, baby Ada was growing fast. She soon reached the age to start school, and Ekwu took great care in preparing her for this new phase of life. She packed Ada's lunch every day, helped her with her homework, and made sure she was always ready for school. Ada, my dear, remember to be kind and always do your best, Ekwu would say each morning as she walked Ada to school gate. Yes, Grandma, Ada would reply with a bright smile. She loved school and made many friends, always eager to learn new things. One day, after dropping Ada off at school, Ekwu called Michael for a meeting. They sat in the living room, Ekwu's face serious and filled with determination. Michael, my son, I have been thinking a lot about Dara. Ekwu began, her voice steady. She's still my daughter, and I believe that baby Ada needs her mother. Michael looked at Ekwu surprised. Ekwu, are you sure we should forgive her and bring her back? He asked, his voice filled with hesitation. Yes, Ekwu said firmly. I beg you to forgive her and give her another chance. She made many mistakes, but I believe she can change. We owe it to Ada to try. Michael sighed, deep in thought. He had seen how much pain Dera had caused, but he also saw the love Ekwu still had for her daughter. After much contemplation, he nodded. All right, Ekwu, we will try to find her and bring her back, but she needs to show that she has truly changed. Ekwu smiled, relief washing over him. Thank you, Michael. I know it won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do. They decided to start their search for Dara. Michael tried calling her, but her number wasn't going through. Determined not to give up, they decided to go to her old apartment. When they arrived, they were told that Dara wasn't living there anymore. Do you know where she might have gone? Michael asked the landlord, his voice filled with concern. No, she moved out a few weeks ago. She didn't leave any forwarding address, the landlord replied. Michael and Ekwu felt a deep sense of disappointment, but were determined to continue their search. They asked around the neighborhood, hoping someone might have seen or heard from Dara. Have you seen this woman? Michael asked a shopkeeper, showing a picture of Dara in his phone. No, sorry, I haven't seen her, the shopkeeper replied, shaking his head. They went from place to place, asking people who might know something, but their efforts yielded no result. As the day turned to evening, they reluctantly returned home, their hearts heavy with worry and sadness. Back at home, they continued their lives, hoping and praying that one day they would find Dara and bring her back. Ekwu took solace in caring for baby Ada, pouring all her love and attention into her granddaughter. One evening, as Ekwu was putting Ada to bed, the little girl asked, Grandma, where is mommy? I miss her. Eku's heart ached. She hugged Ada tightly and said, Mommy is away for a while, but we are trying to bring her back. She loves you very much, Ada. Ada nodded, her eyes filled with innocence and hope. I hope she comes back soon, Grandma. We all do, my dear. Ekwu whispered, kissing Ada's forehead. We all do. As the days turned into weeks, Ekwu and Michael held on to hope. They continued to ask around and look for any clues that might lead them to Dara. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined not to give up. Michael often found himself reflecting on his relationship with Dara. Despite the lies and the pain, he couldn't deny the love he had once felt for her. He hoped that she had changed, that she had found a way to become a better person. Ekwu, do you think she has changed? Michael asked one evening as they sat together discussing their search efforts. I believe she has. Ekwu replied, her voice filled with conviction. She has faced many hardships, and sometimes it takes falling to the bottom to realize the need to change. I have faith in her. Michael nodded, taking comfort in Ekwu's words. He hoped she was right. For Ada's sake and for their own, he hoped they could find Dera and rebuild their family. As they continued to search, they encountered many dead ends and moments of despair. But they never lost hope. They believed that one day they would find Dera, and when that day came, they would welcome her back with open arms. One morning, as Ekwu and Michael were having breakfast, the phone rang. Ekwu answered, her heart pounding with anticipation. Hello, she said, her voice shaking. Is this Ekwu? A voice on the other end asked. Yes, it is. Who is this? Ekwu replied. This is Mrs. Johnson from the local shelter. I believe I have some information about your daughter Dera. The voice said. Eku's heart leaped. Please tell me, where is she? She exclaimed. She has been staying at our shelter for the past few weeks. She has been working hard and seems genuinely remorseful. I think she would like to see you, Mrs. Johnson said. Ekwu thanked Mrs. Johnson and hung up the phone, tears of relief streaming down her face. She turned to Michael, her voice filled with hope. They found her, Michael. They found Dara. Michael smiled, his heart swelling with relief. Let's go get her. They quickly made their way to the shelter, their hearts filled with anticipation. When they arrived, they saw Dara, looking tired but hopeful, standing at the entrance. She saw them and burst into tears, rushing towards to embrace her mother. Mama, I'm so sorry, Dara cried, hugging Ekwu tightly. I have missed you so much. Ekwu held her daughter close, her own tears falling freely. I have missed you too, my daughter. Welcome home. Michael stepped forward, placing a hand on Dara's shoulder. We believe in second chances, Dara. Let's start over. Dara nodded, her heart filled with gratitude. Thank you, Michael. I promise I will make things right. They returned home together, determined to rebuild their lives and heal the wounds of the past. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but with love, forgiveness, and determination, they believed they would create a brighter future for the family. Ekwu was overwhelmed with happiness as they made their way back home with Dara. Their heart was filled with hope and relief, knowing that they had finally found her daughter and that the family could begin to heal. She looked at Michael, her eyes brimming with gratitude, and he smiled back, sharing in her joy. When they arrived home, baby Ada was playing in the living room with her toys. As soon as she saw Dara, she dropped her toys and ran towards her mother with open arms. Mommy! Ada exclaimed, her face lighting up with pure joy. Dara knelt down and scooped Ada into her arms, hugging her tightly. Tears of happiness streamed down her face as she held her daughter close. Oh, my sweet Ada, I have missed you so much, Dara whispered, kissing Ada's forehead. Ada giggled and hugged her mother back. I missed you too, Mommy. Ekwu watched the reunion with tears in her eyes, her heart swelling with happiness. She approached Dara and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Welcome home, my daughter, she said softly. Dara looked up at her mother, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. Thank you, Mama. I'm so sorry for everything. I have changed, I promise. Ekwu smiled warmly and hugged her daughter. I believe you, Dara. Let's put the past behind us and move forward together. Michael joined them, placing a comforting arm around Ekwu and Dara. We are a family and we are stronger together, he said. Let's make this a fresh start for all of us. In the days that followed, Dara worked hard to rebuild her life and earn the trust of her family. She learned her lessons and changed her ways, treating everyone with love and respect. She apologized to Michael's colleagues and sought forgiveness from those she had wronged.
One afternoon, Dara was sitting at the kitchen table with Ekwu discussing her plans for the future. Mama, I have been thinking, Dara began, her voice thoughtful. I want to share my experiences and the lessons I have learned with others. I want to help people avoid making the same mistakes I did. Ekwu nodded, her eyes shining with pride. That's a wonderful idea, Dara. You have a powerful story to tell, and it can help many people. Dara smiled, feeling a sense of purpose. She decided to create videos and content online, sharing her life lessons and journey of transformation. She set up a small home studio and began recording videos, talking about her experiences and the importance of love, respect, and forgiveness. Hi everyone, Dera began in one of her videos, looking into the camera with sincerity. My name is Dera, and I want to share my story with you. I have made many mistakes in my life, but I have learned valuable lessons that I hope can help others. As Dera's video gained popularity, she received messages from people all over the world thanking her for her honesty and inspiration. She felt fulfilled knowing that her story was making a positive impact. At home, Dera continued to show her love and appreciation for her family. She helped Ekwu with household chores, played with Ada, and spent quality time with Michael. They often had family dinners where they shared stories, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company. One evening, as they sat around the dining table, Ekwu looked at her family with a heart full of love. I'm so grateful for all of you, she said, her voice filled with emotion. We have been through so much, but we have come out stronger and closer. Michael nodded in agreement. Yes, we have, and I am proud of how far we have come. We are a family, and will always be there for each other. Dara smiled, feeling a deep sense of belonging and happiness. Thank you for giving me a second chance. I will never take it for granted. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the family continued to grow stronger. Dara got her job back. She thrived, where she treated everyone with kindness and respect. Her colleagues noticed the change in her and appreciated her positive attitude. One day, Michael called her into his office. Dara, I have noticed a significant change in you, he said with a smile. You have become a valuable member of our team, and I'm proud of your progress. Thank you, Michael, Dara replied, feeling a sense of accomplishment. I have learned a lot and I'm grateful for the opportunity to prove myself. As Dara's career flourished, her online content continued to reach more people, spreading messages of hope, resilience, and the power of change. She often collaborated with other content creators, sharing her stories on various platforms and inspiring others to transform their lives. At home, the family's bond grew stronger each day. Ekwu and Michael often took Ada to the park, where they played and laughed together. They created beautiful memories, cherishing every moment they spent as a family. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on a picnic blanket in the park, Ada looked up at her mother and asked, Mommy, will you always be here with us? Dara smiled warmly and hugged Ada tightly. Yes, my dear, I will always be here with you. We are a family, and nothing will change that. Ekwu watched the interaction with a heart full of joy. She had dreamed of seeing her daughter happy and at peace, and now that dream had come true. She felt blessed to be part of a loving and united family. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the park, Michael turned to his family and said, We have come a long way and I am proud of each one of us. We have faced challenges, but we have overcome them together. I love you all. I love you too, Dara said, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you for believing in me and giving me a second chance. Ekwu and Ada echoed the sentiment, their hearts overflowing with love and happiness. They sat together, watching the sun set, knowing that they had created a beautiful and strong family built on love, forgiveness, and mutual respect. And so, Dara, Michael, Ekwu, and baby Ada lived happily together, cherishing the bond they had built and the lessons they had learned. They knew that their journey was not perfect, but they faced it together with love and determination, creating a future filled with hope and happiness. This story teaches us that it's never too late to change and make things right. Even if we make mistakes, we can always learn from them, say sorry, and try to be better. It's important to treat everyone, especially our family, with love and respect. By working hard and being kind, we can build a happy life and make things better for everyone. Thank you for watching this amazing story about Dera on African Stories. If you liked it and felt inspired with her journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories by V, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.